All right. You think that all of the hard work is done in the steps for developing a community emergency management plan, but now we get into the real work. This is step 6, where we start to train, exercise, review, and maintain the emergency management plan that you've drafted and gotten approval for. And remember, if you find value in this video, please like and subscribe so others like you can find our tutorials to help them be better prepared for the next emergency or disaster in their community. So, step 6 of the emergency management planning process can be the most fun because this is where you now get to actually engage with the community and leadership and managers and partners and stakeholders in teaching them about the plan and starting to get them ready to execute it during a emergency response or disaster response. So training is a big component of this. You have to take the plan, the courses of actions that you developed, and start to roll them out into a training curriculum. And you can do this by creating learning objectives. You can do this through the development of breaking out courses of actions into very specific steps, teachable steps. You want to be able to get in front of those that have to use the plan so you can start educating them on what the plan is, how to read it, how to use it, how it's organized. Okay. So there's a lot that goes into this because you've got so much content in the plan. You could, dependent on the size of it at the end, you could have days and days worth of training, and not only in-person training, but you could do things like pre-recorded videos like this. You could do a podcast about it. You could do quick TikTok type style videos about it and put it on social media. You could put little bits of it in a community newsletter. Whatever method of communication you have around your community, use all of them. And if you are doing formal training sessions, you may want to consider bringing in an instructional designer, someone that can sit down and synthesize the plan into learning objectives and breaking it out into teachable modules. That doesn't always need to be done, but it can definitely make your training more organized, productive, and efficient if you're doing it using an instructional design methodology. So once you're done with the training, you want to exercise the plan. And you can exercise the plan in several different ways. So one way, you might be familiar with a common drill, like a fire drill. It's just really based on a single focus or single operation. And in the emergency management world, you could have a drill of set up the emergency operations or emergency coordination center, and that's it. Maybe it's like an evacuation of a building. You want to just focus on one very specific thing and end it at a very specific period. So if it was for an emergency coordination center, maybe you make it a 2 hour drill or a 1 hour drill, and really you just practice getting staff to the center, getting their workspace set up, and them ready to for the first briefing, and that's it. That's a drill. Then you can get into like functional exercises, which really validates some of the capabilities around communication, command. You want to develop a little bit more of a simulated environment, testing functions of the emergency coordination center in real time, but without having the full blown response equipment and staff there. Or you could get into a full scale exercise where you have every first responder show up and stage their equipment and their vehicles. You have all staff in the coordination center ready to work with their computers or laptops up, and you're actually going through a scenario. You can also do what's called a tabletop exercise, and that's very common because that's a great place to sit around and discuss scenarios and to kind of tease out some of the things. that you want to do or talk about. But whatever kind of exercise you decide to do, usually a few drills a year and a functional exercise are good. If you could even do a full scale annual exercise, that's great. But I would probably say it's more reasonable to do that once every 2 years. Or if you've unfortunately had a live emergency or disaster, that sometimes will qualify as a full scale exercise because you've technically practiced it. But whatever the case is, you want to make sure that your exercise is evaluated based on some measurable goals. So set the goals of the exercise before you even start planning the scenario. What do you want to practice? What do you want people to come away with? If people start after training with this level of knowledge or capability, what should they be able to do at the end of the exercise? And how will you know that they can do that? How will they demonstrate it? Make sure that evaluation is really, really clear, because you want to focus on improvement. If you've noticed one thing in this whole 6-step process, we're always learning and we're always improving, right? This is not about coming up with a plan to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. The plan is not going to be perfect. So collect data and feedback from your training and your exercises, real emergencies, when you implement new bylaws. If your demographics change, those are all reasons to update and improve the plan. And you want to establish that reoccurring cycle. So when can people expect the plan to be reviewed, updated, and re-released? Okay, so that's why it's really important to put in your log within the plan of when something was revised, when it was updated, and who approved the update, because you don't want people using outdated courses of actions or not understanding that maybe, they're hearing about a change, but it's not captured in the plan's revision. So, they'll get confused and maybe not think it comes from the right authority. But whatever the case is, get into that annual cycle. Usually, I would say, if you can, the best time to, go through this process of reviewing and updating the plan would be January to March, just before the spring. But it's getting harder now, right? Because winter is bringing all sorts of different emergencies like power outages and snowstorms and deep freezes. So this notion of, spring and summer being the main hazard seasons in Canada is kind of fading away, especially with climate change. So try to get into an annual rhythm the best that you can. All right, that's it. If you've gone through all 6 steps of our planning process, hopefully you have some remnants of a plan drafted and ready for approval. You've got your risk assessment in place. You've got your communication for that risk in place. You've got a planning team or a planning circle that you've got access to as support, and you've trained and communicated your plan out to everyone. So if you're finished all 6 steps, good job. You made it this far. If you need additional support or help, please always reach out to HazardScape. You know where to find us. Take care. Thanks for joining us at HazardScape. You can subscribe to our YouTube and find our ad-free training videos by becoming a supporter on Patreon with a network of other Indigenous peoples looking to make their communities safer. And remember, know your HazardScape and be prepared.